My best friend named her baby after me. Then I found out why. People keep telling me I should feel honored. Whenever I tell someone this story, they smile and say, "That's actually sweet." It wasn't. Not even close. Hearing my name every time that little girl laughed eventually became a reminder of the biggest betrayal of my life. Because my best friend didn't name her daughter after me to honor me. She named her after me because she wanted to replace me. I know that sounds dramatic. Believe me, I wish it were. Her name was Claire. We had known each other since we were 6 years old. Our mothers met at church, and from that point on we were inseparable. Same elementary school. Same middle school. Same high school. We even attended the same university. People joked that we were basically sisters. Looking back, maybe that was where everything started going wrong. Claire always copied me. At least that was what everyone said. If I cut my hair short, she appeared a week later with the same haircut. If I bought a certain jacket, she suddenly owned one in a slightly different shade. When I painted my apartment sage green, hers became sage green 3 months later. Even our mutual friends laughed about it. "Claire wants to be you." She always laughed too. "No," she would say. "I just have really good taste in friends." It seemed harmless. Sometimes it was flattering. Claire had a difficult childhood. Her father left when she was 9, and her mother spent most of Claire's teenage years moving from one boyfriend to another. My parents included her in everything. She came on our family vacations. She spent Christmas morning at our house. My mother bought her birthday presents and kept her favorite cereal in the pantry. Claire once told me that my family was the first place where she had ever felt safe. I never forgot that. It made me protective of her. Whenever someone teased her for copying me, I defended her. Whenever a boyfriend complained that she was too clingy, I told him he didn't understand what she had been through. Whenever Claire crossed a boundary, I gave her another chance. I thought loyalty meant never giving up on someone. I didn't understand that loyalty without boundaries eventually becomes permission. When we were 29, our lives finally started moving in different directions. I became engaged to Ethan, a man I had been dating for 4 years. Claire was still dating casually. She came dress shopping with me. She cried when I found my wedding gown. She stood beside me as my maid of honor. During her speech at the reception, she said I was the sister she had chosen and that no man would ever know me as well as she did. Everyone laughed. Ethan laughed too. For the time, I thought it was sweet. 6 months after my wedding, Claire met Daniel. Things moved quickly. Within a year, they were engaged. 6 months after that, Claire announced she was pregnant. I was genuinely happy for her. She had suffered 2 miscarriages in previous relationships, and she had always talked about wanting to become a mother. I drove her to appointments when Daniel was working. I helped decorate the nursery. I organized her baby shower. I spent hours assembling tiny gift bags and writing thank you cards because Claire said she was too tired. After the shower, she hugged me tightly. "I couldn't have done any of this without you," she said. I believed her. About a month before her due date, we were sitting in the nursery folding baby clothes. Out of nowhere, Claire asked, "If it's a girl, how would you feel if I named her after you?" I laughed because I thought she was joking. "What?" "I've always loved your name. My name is Emma." It isn't unusual or especially distinctive, but Claire had never mentioned loving it before. I shook my head. "That would be weird." Her smile faded slightly. "Why?" "Because then there would be 2 Emmas every time we were together. I think it would be meaningful." I reminded her that she had talked for years about naming a daughter Lily. She shrugged. I changed my mind. I told her she should choose whatever name she loved, but she didn't need my permission. That seemed to satisfy her. 3 weeks later, Claire gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Daniel called me from the hospital. "You need to get here," he said. I thought something was wrong. Instead, when I arrived, he was smiling. Claire looked exhausted but happy. She placed the baby in my arms and said, "We'd like you to meet Emma Grace." My heart stopped. "You actually did it?" She nodded. "I want my daughter to grow up just like you." Everyone in the room thought it was beautiful. Claire's mother cried. Daniel's parents told me it was the greatest compliment a person could receive. I smiled. I thanked her. I even cried. How could I not? Someone had just told me she admired me enough to name her child after me. I had no idea that would become one of the worst moments of my life. For the first few months, nothing seemed wrong. I visited often. I brought groceries. I watched the baby so Claire could shower or sleep. Sometimes I stayed overnight when Daniel traveled for work. Claire struggled with anxiety after the birth. She called me at all hours, terrified that something was wrong with the baby. I reassured her. I researched feeding schedules. I helped her find a therapist. I believed I was supporting my best friend through a difficult transition. Then small things began to change. Claire started introducing us in a strange way. "This is Emma," she would say, pointing to me. Then she would point to the baby. "And this is our real Emma." The first time she said it, I assumed she misspoke. The second time, I laughed awkwardly. The third time, I asked what she meant. She rolled her eyes. "I mean, she's the one we're usually talking about now." She said it like a joke, but she watched my face carefully. Soon, whenever someone called the name Emma, Claire corrected them. If Daniel called to me from another room, she would say, "You mean Big Emma?" If her mother asked whether Emma needed anything, Claire would answer for the baby even when the question was clearly directed at me. She began calling me Old Emma. First only in private, then in front of other people. I told her I didn't like it. She acted surprised. "You're seriously jealous of a baby?" "I'm not jealous. I just don't want to be called Old Emma." "It's a joke?" "It doesn't feel like one." Claire sighed dramatically. "Fine. I won't joke with you anymore." That was how she handled every boundary. She turned it into evidence that I was too sensitive. A few months later, Claire began posting photographs of the baby online with captions that sounded strangely personal. "My little Emma will become everything her namesake should have been. Raising Emma the right way. My second chance at an Emma." Friends sent me screenshots. One asked whether Claire and I were fighting. I confronted her. She said I was reading too much into it. "What does second chance at an Emma mean?" I asked. "It means I get to help shape her life." "What does that have to do with me?" "You always say you wish you had done things differently." I had said that once. Years earlier, after drinking too much wine, I told Claire I regretted not studying art. I said I sometimes wondered whether I had chosen a practical life instead of an exciting one. It was the kind of vulnerable thought you share with someone you trust. Claire had apparently filed it away. She started telling people that baby Emma would become an artist because I had been too afraid to become one. She bought the baby painting supplies before the child could walk. She decorated the nursery with framed pictures of famous women. She told everyone that baby Emma would be confident, fearless, and creative. Unlike me. She didn't always say that last part aloud. She didn't have to. Comparison was becoming obvious. Then I overheard the conversation that changed everything. Baby Emma was 8 months old. Claire invited several friends over for lunch. I arrived early and let myself in with the spare key she had given me years before. I heard voices coming from the kitchen. Claire was talking to her cousin Rachel. I started to announce myself, but then I heard my name. "The original Emma had every opportunity," Claire said. "She had good parents, money, and people supporting her. She wasted all of it." I froze in the hallway. Rachel said something too quietly for me to hear. Claire continued. "She could have become someone extraordinary. Instead, she married Ethan and settled into that boring office job." My face went hot. Claire knew I liked my job. She knew I loved Ethan. I had never described my life as settling. Rachel asked, "Then why did you name your daughter after her?" Claire laughed. It was a quiet, ugly sound. "Because names don't belong to people forever." "What does that mean?" "It means when people hear Emma, eventually they won't think of her. They'll think of my daughter." Rachel was silent. Claire continued. "I get to raise the better version." I stood in the hallway, unable to breathe. Every strange caption. Every correction. Every time she called me Old Emma. It wasn't accidental. It was a plan. I stepped into the kitchen. Claire's face changed instantly. Rachel looked horrified. "How long have you been standing there?" Claire asked. "Long enough." She tried to smile. "You're taking it the wrong way." "How exactly should I take it?" "I was talking about giving my daughter opportunities." "You said you were raising a better version of me." Rachel stood up. "I should probably leave." "No," I said. "Stay. I would love to hear Claire explain this in front of someone else." Claire crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic. You named your child after me so people would eventually forget me?" "That's not what I said." "It is exactly what you said. I said the name would become hers. It was already hers. She is your daughter. She doesn't need to replace me to have an identity." Claire stared at me. Then her expression hardened. "You know what your problem is?" I almost laughed. "My problem? You've always believed you were better than me." The accusation came out so quickly that I knew she had rehearsed it. "I have never believed that." "Yes, you have. Your family rescued poor Claire. You gave poor Claire your old clothes. You invited poor Claire on vacations. You always got to be the generous one." I stared at her. "We were children. You got everything. I didn't choose what happened to you." "No. You just benefited from it." "Benefited how?" "You got to be the special one. The stable one. The successful one. Claire, you are married. You own a home. You have a beautiful daughter. What exactly do you think I took from you?" She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "My whole life." Rachel whispered, "Claire, stop." But Claire didn't stop. She said my mother treated me better. She said teachers preferred me. She said boys chose me. She said even Daniel had once mentioned that I was attractive. I didn't remember Daniel saying that. Claire remembered every word. She had been collecting grievances for more than 20 years. Every kindness had become humiliation. Every success had become an attack. Every moment we shared had been recorded in a private ledger where she was always losing and I was always responsible. I told her I needed space. She started crying. Not quietly. She collapsed into a chair and sobbed that I was abandoning her just like everyone else. Baby Emma began crying in the next room. Claire looked at me and said, "See what you're doing to her?" That sentence frightened me more than anything else. The baby was crying and somehow it was my fault. I left. For the next week, Claire called constantly. She sent long messages apologizing, accusing, and apologizing again. One message said she had spoken out of insecurity. The next said I had invaded her privacy. Then she said I was punishing an innocent baby. Then she sent a photograph of baby Emma wearing a shirt that said, "My Aunt Emma loves me." I didn't respond. Daniel called me 2 weeks later. He sounded exhausted. He said Claire wasn't sleeping. He said she was convinced I was trying to turn everyone against her. I told him exactly what I had heard. There was a long silence. Then he said, "She has made comments before." "What comments?" He hesitated. "About you." I asked him to explain. He said Claire compared herself to me constantly. My marriage. My body. My job. My relationship with my parents. Even the number of people who reacted to our social media posts. Daniel said he had encouraged her to see a therapist, but she insisted I deliberately made her feel inferior. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I thought it was normal jealousy." "This is not normal." "I know that now." A few days later, my mother called. Claire had visited her. She brought the baby and cried for 2 hours. My mother felt sorry for her. "She's struggling," Mom said. "Maybe you could meet with her." She named her daughter after me because she wants the baby to replace me. Mom paused. "She admitted that?" I heard her say it. My mother sighed. "Claire has always had a difficult time." I had heard that sentence my entire life. Claire had a difficult time, so I needed to share. Claire had a difficult time, so I needed to forgive. Claire had a difficult time, so her actions were never completely her responsibility. "I had a difficult time too," I said. My mother sounded surprised. "When?" "Right now." There was silence. I told her not to discuss me with Claire. I also asked her not to let Claire into the house if I was there. Mom agreed, although reluctantly. Then Claire crossed a line I could not ignore. She created an Instagram account for her daughter. The username included my full name. Not just Emma. My first, middle, and last name. She had given the baby Daniel's last name legally, but online she used mine. The account biography read, "Taking back the name and becoming who Emma was meant to be." My friends found it before I did. Screenshots spread through our group chat. Someone commented asking why the baby used my last name. Claire replied, "Some legacies deserve a second attempt." I reported the account. Then I sent Claire one message. "Remove my full name from your daughter's account. Do not use my photographs, my personal information, or references to my life." She replied immediately, "You don't own a name. You are using my full name. It is public information. Remove it. You're jealous because she's already more loved than you." I blocked her. The account disappeared 2 days later. I thought that might be the end. It wasn't. 3 months passed. I avoided places where I knew Claire might be. Our mutual friends slowly divided into groups. Some believed Claire was unstable. Others believed I was being cruel to a new mother. A few said we were both overreacting. Those were the people who wanted peace more than truth. Then I received a letter from a life insurance company. It was addressed to Emma Grace Whitmore. That was my full name. First, I assumed it was junk mail. Then another letter arrived from a bank. Then a pediatric clinic called to confirm an appointment for my daughter. "I don't have children." I told the receptionist she had the wrong number. She read the patient's birth date. Belonged to Claire's baby. I asked how they got my phone number. She said it was listed as the mother's primary contact. My stomach dropped. Contacted Daniel. He was silent for several seconds after I explained. Then he said, "I need to tell you something." Claire had begun using my information on forms. Not my social security number or financial accounts, but my phone number, email address, and occasionally my surname. She told Daniel it was easier because she was overwhelmed and I was more organized. Daniel believed it happened only once. I told him about the letters. He promised to investigate. That evening, he called again. He sounded shaken. He had searched through a drawer in Claire's office. Inside, he found a folder labeled Emma. Contained copies of old school photographs of me. Printed screenshots from my social media accounts. Copy of my resume. A list of my former addresses. Details about my childhood. Names of teachers. Names of ex-boyfriends. My favorite books. My allergies. There were also handwritten pages. Daniel photographed several and sent them to me. One page was titled, "Things to Improve." Underneath, Claire had written, "More confident. More artistic. Better posture. No fear of public speaking. No settling for safe career. Choose better husband." I stared at that final line. Choose better husband. Claire had written that about her own husband. On another page, she had listed milestones from my childhood beside the ages when she wanted her daughter to achieve them. Emma learned to read at 4. Baby Emma should read at 3. Emma won school art contest at 9. Baby Emma should win by 7. Emma started dating at 16. Delay until 18 to prevent mistakes. My entire life had become a rough draft for her daughter. Daniel confronted Claire. She denied everything at first. Then she said the folder was a parenting project. She claimed she was studying successful people to help guide her daughter. Daniel asked why the folder contained only information about me. Claire became furious. She accused him of violating her privacy. Then she took the baby and left the house. No one knew where she went for almost a day. The next morning, Daniel called the police. Claire returned that afternoon as if nothing had happened. She said she had stayed at a hotel because Daniel was threatening her. He hadn't threatened her. He had asked her to speak to a mental health professional. That was when Daniel finally understood that this wasn't merely jealousy. He asked Claire to stay with her mother temporarily. She refused. He moved into his brother's house. For the next month, the situation became worse. Claire began showing up at places I visited regularly. My gym. My grocery store. Cafe near my office. She always brought the baby. She never approached me. She simply appeared and watched. One afternoon, I found an envelope under my windshield wiper. Inside was a photograph of baby Emma. On the back, Claire had written, "She will know who you were, even if you abandon her." I went to the police. They said the message was disturbing but not a direct threat. They recommended documenting everything. I installed cameras outside my house. I changed my routine. Ethan began driving me to work. I hated that Claire's obsession had changed my daily life. I also hated myself for worrying about the baby. Baby Emma had become an unwilling character in Claire's fantasy. She deserved her own identity. She deserved to grow up without carrying the weight of a stranger's life. Then Claire contacted my husband. She sent Ethan an email titled "The Truth About Emma." Contained dozens of private things I had told Claire over the years. Arguments Ethan and I had. Fears I had shared before our wedding. A brief crush I once had on a coworker but never acted on. Every insecure thought I had trusted my best friend with was arranged to make me seem dishonest. Claire told Ethan that I had settled for him. She said I secretly wanted a different life. Ethan showed me the email immediately. I expected him to be angry. Instead, he looked sad. "You trusted her with all of this?" "Yes. She saved everything." That was the part that broke me. Claire hadn't merely remembered my secrets. She had preserved them as weapons. I cried harder than I had since the situation began. Not because Ethan doubted me. He didn't. I cried because I finally accepted that the friendship I remembered had probably never existed in the way I believed it did. I thought Claire knew me because she loved me. Maybe she knew me because she was studying me. 2 days later, Daniel called and asked to meet. He brought another folder. This one contained photographs of Claire and me throughout our childhood. In many pictures, my face had been cut out. In others, Claire had written comments underneath. Emma receives award. Claire ignored. Emma's family vacation. Claire invited as charity. Emma's wedding. Claire standing behind her again. There was also a photograph from the hospital after baby Emma was born. I was holding the baby. Claire had written, "Transfer begins." I felt physically sick. Daniel apologized repeatedly. He said he should have noticed sooner. I told him none of us understood what we were seeing. Claire had hidden her resentment beneath admiration. That was what made it so difficult to recognize. Daniel filed for temporary custody and requested a psychological evaluation. Claire retaliated by telling everyone Daniel was abusive. She posted long statements online claiming that he and I were trying to steal her baby. She said we had always been secretly in love. That accusation was so ridiculous I assumed no one would believe it. Some people did. People believe dramatic stories when they are simpler than complicated truths. Claire's mother supported her publicly. My mother stayed silent. That hurt almost as much. I asked why she wouldn't defend me. She said she didn't want to become involved in a custody dispute. "You were involved when Claire needed comfort," I said. "That was different. It was only different because helping her didn't require you to challenge her." My mother cried. I didn't apologize. For the first time in my life, I stopped managing everyone else's feelings. Custody proceedings lasted several months. Claire's psychological evaluation remained private, but the court ordered supervised visitation temporarily. Daniel received primary physical custody. He changed the baby's middle name. He considered changing her first name too, but his lawyer advised waiting. He asked me what I thought. I told him it wasn't my decision. But I said the child deserved a name chosen for who she was, not for who Claire wanted her to replace. Eventually, Daniel began calling her Grace. It had always been her middle name. She responded to it quickly. A year later, he legally changed her first name to Grace. Claire fought the change. She claimed it was an attempt to erase her as a mother. The judge approved it anyway. By then, multiple professionals had documented Claire's fixation on me and her use of the child in that fixation. I did not attend the hearing. I didn't need to. When Daniel called to tell me the change was official, I cried. Not because my name had been removed. 'Cause Grace finally had one of her own. Claire moved away shortly afterward. Her mother sold her house and relocated with her. I heard through mutual friends that Claire told people she had escaped a conspiracy. I don't know whether she still believes that. I don't know whether she understands what she did. For a long time I wanted an explanation. I wanted Claire to admit that she envied me. I wanted her to apologize for turning my life into a competition I didn't know we were having. I wanted her to explain how someone could call me a sister while secretly building a case against my existence. Eventually, I accepted that no explanation would make it reasonable. Daniel and I remained in occasional contact because of Grace. I was careful about boundaries. I did not want to become another adult projecting expectations onto her. The first time I saw her after the name change, she was almost 2. She had curly brown hair and a serious expression. She studied me for several seconds. Then she handed me a toy giraffe. Daniel said, "Grace, this is Emma." She repeated my name. Just Emma. Not old Emma. Not original Emma. Not the person she was supposed to become. Just Emma. I smiled and said, "It's nice to meet you, Grace." That moment stayed with me. 2 people with 2 different names. 2 separate lives. No replacement. No competition. Just a little girl and the woman whose identity had once been forced onto her. Grace is 5 now. Daniel says she is funny, stubborn, and obsessed with dinosaurs. She hates painting. Claire had planned to raise an artist. Grace wants to become a paleontologist. I hope she changes her mind 100 times. I hope she tries things and quits them. I hope she disappoints every expectation placed on her. I hope she becomes nobody's second chance. As for me, I finally started painting again. Not because Claire was right that I had wasted my potential. 'Cause surviving the loss of that friendship forced me to ask what I wanted when no one else was defining me. I take a class on Saturday mornings. I'm not especially talented. That's not the point. Finn and I bought a small house with a room I use as a studio. My mother and I are rebuilding our relationship, although things will never return to exactly what they were. I love her, but I no longer accept Claire had a difficult life as an excuse for everything. Lots of people suffer. Most of them do not spend decades trying to erase someone who loved them. Sometimes I still remember the hospital room. Claire placing that baby in my arms. Everyone smiling as she announced the name. I remember feeling honored. I remember thinking our friendship had created something beautiful. Now I understand that admiration and resentment can look almost identical from the outside. Both involve attention. Both involve imitation. Both make someone study you closely. The difference is that admiration allows you to remain yourself. Resentment wants what you have. An obsession wants to become you. My best friend named her baby after me. For months, I thought it was an act of love. Then I discovered she had spent years collecting my life piece by piece, waiting for the chance to create a version of me she could control. She wanted my name without my choices. My childhood without my memories. My life without me in it. But in the end, she didn't replace me. She only lost the people who had genuinely loved her. And the little girl she tried to turn into a copy became the one thing Claire never planned for. Herself.